Hi, everyone. My name is Kirsten VanderJagt, and I'm the founder and CEO of Katie's House Foundation, a housing nonprofit. And we offer affordable shared housing to people who are just starting out, starting over, or on a fixed income. And so I am here with the fabulous Rolethia Scott. Hi, Ro. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for this Q&A session.
Yes, ma'am. I'm glad to be here.
We are so happy that you help us in Birmingham, Alabama, and some of the surrounding areas as we continue to look to lease more houses or buy more houses. And we wanted to do this Q&A video with you so that way you can answer the most frequently asked questions, um, for people who are applying to Katie's House Foundation, and then also maybe their case managers if they are looking and wondering, what is this application process like to get somebody
Yeah,
from the point of online application to when do they actually get into the house?
definitely. Yes, ma'am. Well, we can definitely get right into that.
Okay, so we will put this Q&A on our more section of the website. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Question number one is, how do I apply for a private room or a shared room with Katie's House Foundation?
Yes, ma'am. So the best way to apply would be to go to our website, which would be katieshousefoundation.org, and you'll click apply now.
Okay, great. And does Katie's House Foundation offer a free housing application? And what is included?
Yes, ma'am. The application is free. Your application will be reviewed by a licensed agent, and you'll have a short interview process. The agent will also be able to show you the house, and will review your verification documents once everything is sent over.
Okay, great. And let's say that I'm the applicant. If
Right.
I like the house, or maybe I'm a case manager, a placement officer, if I like the house based on either the video that I look at or the photos, or if you show it to me in person, and then also if I like the location, because I know location, although we don't tend to give out the address in some cases, the zip code, right, could be important, or maybe just the block.
Definitely.
So if I drive down the street and I just like the street and the area and anything else that you share with me, what is the next step?
Yes, the next step would, if you haven't already put in your application, then the next step after that would be to go ahead and do your background check.
Okay. Is there a cost for a background check?
Yes, you pay about $42 for the background check. You'll get an email from the background company to process that. Or if you don't have the $42 and you're working with the case manager, you can ask them to contact the licensed agent that's working with Katie's house, which would be me right now. And you'll be able to provide your documents for that background check.
Okay, great. So, basically, if I'm working with a nonprofit who, I went to them or somehow I ended up working with them because maybe I didn't have money and they have either a veterans program or aged out foster care or drug court or even, human trafficking or something like that. If I have a case manager there, a probation officer, somebody, what you're telling me is that instead of me having to pay the $42 for a background check and then wait a few days for that to come back, my person at this nonprofit or the government, they can give you a call and then send you over like my background information.
Right, definitely.
Okay, great. And after the background check is taken care of either through the $42 outside company or through a case manager sending over some documents, what's the next step?
After that, you'll receive an email over asking for a valid ID, and for you to verify your income to cover 30 days of rent and utilities. If your case manager is paying for you, the email will be sent to them, and you'll be able to be included on that email.
Okay, awesome. And what documents do you or Katie's House Foundation actually need to verify my identity and my income?
So a valid ID, and then of course, paycheck stubs that can verify your income.
Okay. And if I'm on fixed income, would a Social Security award letter work?
Award letter, yes.
And if I'm self-employed and maybe I don't know why my boss would pay me cash, but could I maybe just give you my bank
Bank
statement to show
statements,
the deposits going in?
definitely.
Okay. And then if it is going to be a case manager or nonprofit or some type of a government contract, would they just basically have an agreement with you which says how long they're going to pay for me?
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. And what if I have bad credit when I do my application?
Bad credit is fine. We actually don't do pull a credit report.
Oh, great. Okay. And what happens after the background check and my documents going over to you?
Yes, so after all of that is completed, you'll be asked to sign house agreements via email and go ahead and pay your move-in costs, which you can do on the website, Katie's Foundation, katieshousefoundation.org, and it's under the pay tab.
Okay, great. And if someone else is paying for me, do you guys just invoice them or you guys already worked that out, right?
Yes, we'll send them an invoice.
Okay, wonderful. And how much does it cost to live at one of these locations or at Katie's house?
Yes, so it's usually a $100 refundable deposit plus your first week's rent, and your monthly utility, which is shared, is usually around 150 per week, depending on where the house is located. And you can also pay by the month.
Okay, great. And how long does it take from the point that I go on the website at katieshousefoundation.org and I fill that out, which takes about 5 minutes for the application, and then I talk with you, the documents go over to you, and when do I actually get to move into the house?
Yeah, so once all of that is completed, it normally takes about 5 to 7 business days, including the application process, background check, and you paying your funds.
Okay. Now, what if my nonprofit or my government entity already has a relationship? Would that be where they could send over this stuff? Let's say I do my application today
hmm
and then they call you and they say, hey, so and so just sent over their application. I want to email over to you, Ro, all of their background documents or even
hmm
some of it to vouch for who they are and then their ID, and they're not going to pay for themselves. We actually are going to pay for them for 3 months or maybe even up to 12 months or 2 years. And here's the verification of that. Can they move in tomorrow if all of that's done?
Yeah, definitely. The quicker we get documents, and especially if we already have an established relationship, we can definitely get you in much quicker than the 5 to 7 business days.
Awesome. I love that. So we want people to be able to get in quickly.
Mhm.
And what can I bring with me to the house?
Important documents, personal care items like shampoo, clothes for about 7 to 10 days, a few pair of shoes, prescriptions, some money, and your electronics.
Okay, so if I am prescribed medication, it's okay for me to bring that as long as I have a prescription.
Exactly.
Okay. And, I'll keep it in my bottle so I know that that's the right medicine. And are there any type of personal safes or locks on the doors on the inside?
Yes. Yes, definitely. So there is a outside door lock as well as a door. You can lock your room door, and we do have personal safes.
Okay, wonderful. And what are some things that I should not bring?
Furniture, until after you've seen the space that we have allotted. Personal heaters, non-prescription, alcohol or drugs, weapons, or anything known to carry bugs.
Okay. Yeah. So that's an important one, right? Because personal
hmm
heaters, frying, like turkey
hmm
fryers,
Yeah, none of
things
that.
that
That can
could,
be hazardous.
yeah. So, and then furniture, most of the houses, do they already have furniture?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how many refrigerators do you guys normally have in a house?
Normally too.
Okay, great. And then who oversees the house once I move in? And are there any support services?
Okay, yes. So there is a house president and a licensed agent assigned to each house that will oversee everything. You'll need to have your own transportation or use the bus line and Google to obtain outside support services, which are usually plentiful in the area. That's definitely true within the Birmingham area. Then there are also financial literacy classes that are offered for free when you live at Katie's house. So you can learn how to increase your income, get a car or go to school, build and fix your credit, and work towards purchasing your own home in a few years.
Wow, that's great. And if I stay at Katie's house for, let's say, just 2 years, would I be able to work with you to maybe look for a house in the neighborhood?
Yes, definitely. So I am a licensed agent in the state of Alabama with Posh Realty Company. So I could definitely help you make that next step.
Okay, that's exciting. I have a lot, if I were an applicant, I would have a lot to work on, and maybe I'm not ready for that yet, but it's really good to
Yes.
know that if
Yep.
I get myself ready, while I'm living at the house,
Hmm.
then hopefully you can help me with that.
Exactly. Definitely.
And then what if I just want to lease a place? What if I'm not ready to purchase in a year or
I
two?
Yep, I can totally help with that as well. I do renting, leasing, buying, selling. So I
Okay,
can help with all of it.
that's great. So I can move from this, basically easy entry,
Hmm.
beautiful housing, and it's affordable. And then once I get my income, maybe better, and I'm making more income and maybe my
Right.
credit's a little bit better, then you can help me get into a longer term lease kind of a situation or buy
Exactly.
a house.
Exactly. Sure
I
can.
love that.
Mhm.
Okay. And what happens, when I'm living at the house? I understand these are shared houses,
Mhm.
so there are a couple roommates there. What happens if they don't pay their rent or their utility bill? Does my rent and my utility bill go up?
No. So if someone does not follow their house agreements or pay their share of the rent and utilities on time without some type of communication to the foundation, they're emailed a 7-day notice. And after 7 days, their items will be removed and security code will be changed. So it does not affect you in any kind of way.
Okay, that's really good to know because I know there are other types of things that are popping up, but then, maybe they increase the rent on me or the
Right.
utilities on me because two other people didn't pay their share, and that
Yeah.
doesn't seem fair.
Yeah. No, not in this situation.
Does Katie's House Foundation offer a long-term lease?
So yes, so if you have good credit, 2 years on the job, and make 3 times the rent, or you have a grant that pays for you, you may qualify for a standard lease under one of our LLCs. If you do not meet those qualifications yet, you will fall under Public Law 100-690 and housing laws related to a nonprofit halfway house shelter. By applying and signing the house agreement, you are accepting these terms, which are different from the normal process afforded to someone by local landlord tenant laws.
Okay, so it sounds like there's two different things. Um,
Definitely.
if I have, let's say, a veterans organization
Mhm.
who is willing to pay for me and I'm looking for a 1-year lease and I,
Mhm.
know that that funding is there and that foundation or nonprofit or government provides it, then you will give me a lease for 1 year, let's say for one bedroom.
Right. Hmm.
Okay, because they're paying for me. And so I'm
Right.
still have to
Exactly.
agree to the house rules that I'm going
Hmm.
to keep my house nice and be respectful. But because
Exactly.
they're paying for, let's say, 1 year, you'll do a 1 year
Hmm.
lease underneath like normal landlord tenant protections, correct?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Now, if I don't have good credit and if I don't have a solid job, and most times I know that they require 3 times
Hmm.
your rent. So if I'm going to pay $1,000, I would have to be making $3,000 in order to
Right.
qualify. Versus at Katie's house, if I'm going to pay, $500 or $600, I only have to verify $500 or $600 instead of 3 times that. And so
Exactly.
what you're telling me is that Katie's House Foundation, as a nonprofit, they are able to offer me more like a shelter kind of, right? And
Exactly.
so it's not a long-term lease. It's basically I can come and go. So if I can't pay, then I can just leave.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And who is not able to stay at a Katie's house?
Yes, so we are unable to house anyone with violent crimes, sexual misconduct, arson, or housing as a condition of parole.
Okay. And so that actually makes me feel better as somebody who's going to live there, because I know that the houses, and the insurance may be related to that for the foundation, they, have this background type of a thing because the houses are really intended for people who, haven't had arson or haven't had sexual misconduct or, you know, violent offenses like something very violent, or housing as a condition of their parole. So, unlike some other rooms where they don't do background checks at all, I don't, in those cases, I would have no idea who I'm living with.
Right, exactly.
So I like that you guys do have that. And why would I want to stay at a Katie's House Foundation location?
Yeah, so there are actually a few good reasons why you would want to stay at a Katie's house. Um, It is much easier to get into one of our houses than a standard apartment, and it's less expensive, especially than an Airbnb or a hotel. And it's a lot nicer and safer than a public shelter or a hospital. Usually, the house is on a nice street and there's a yard. Pets may be allowed and children may be able to stay with their parents or guardian in the same room for privacy. We also offer financial literacy classes so residents can obtain documentation, education, employment, and build credit and eventually transition out with confidence into their own permanent housing when ready. In the shelter agreement, you may stay for a week or up to 2 years. Feel free to leave at any time, but we do appreciate a 7-day courtesy.
Okay, wow. So I heard you say in there that pets might be allowed. So does that just mean that depending on where the house is and maybe the other roommates, you
Right.
kind of have to consider if I have a cat or a dog or a bird or something?
Yes, definitely. So we do consider both of those things when we consider pets.
Okay. And then you mentioned that children might be allowed with their guardian or their parent. And so does that mean that, if I am currently living in my car and I have my daughter or my son with me, that I can come and I can actually stay, they can stay with me, right, in the room with me?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then are you gonna, when we go through the application process, you'll just let me know the additional costs for that because there are extra utilities involved with that?
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. How many people are going to live in the house with me?
Yes, so there's usually about 1 to 2 people in each bedroom who all have a similar agreement and are focused on improving their lives and appreciate living in a great school district or on a great street, away from previous places, where they may have been experiencing, kind of conditions that they really didn't want to live in.
Okay. So it sounds like, maybe even though I share a beautiful house, I, get to go, like if I did have my child, they could go to a different school district,
Mhm.
or if I have always lived maybe in a place that like a 1-bedroom apartment or my some like maybe an environment that was not a great neighborhood,
Mhm.
and there was people selling drugs or things going on there that I don't want to be really in that environment anymore. So what
Right.
you're telling me is that I get to move into a shared house with, you said, 1 or 2 other people in each room,
All right. Mhm.
and that's going to be in on a nice street, basically.
Exactly. Yes. Mhm.
And then are these nice houses? How many bedrooms are normally in a house?
Normally about 4.
Okay, awesome. And anything else that you would like to share or tell us about yourself, Rolethia, as to why do you do this and help Katie's House Foundation?
Yeah, so again, I am Rolethia Scott. I have been in the Birmingham area for about 11 years, and I've been in real estate for about 3 years. What brought me to Katie's Foundation is just the mission. I am really big on homelessness, on helping out with homelessness. I've done some volunteer work with Pathways, and that's really how I got into finding out how many homeless people there were in Birmingham. And I think everybody should have a place to stay there. I can't imagine um, going through something like that, and anything that I can do to help, I'm here. That's why I'm here. It is just refreshing that Katie's Foundation has found its way to Birmingham and is able to provide shared living spaces, safe shared living spaces for individuals. And I hope that we grow and just continue to fight this all throughout Birmingham, and even in other places if we're allowed to.
Well, thank you so much for what you do to help Katie's House Foundation. We really, really appreciate you. And
Definitely.
you are really Johnny on the spot to help the House presidents and also the people that are applying. So uh,
Definitely.
thank you so much for what you do. And we'll be talking with you really soon.
Yes, ma'am. It was good speaking with you. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out at any time. I'm literally always available.
Okay. Well, have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.